everyone, welcome back to another round of Tuesday Night Legacy. Tonight we have Dack Loam versus Angel Stompy. On the left we have local Maverick player Ben playing a Dack Loam deck. This is definitely a Maverick deck, but it does feature Dack Fayden, Planeswalker of choice when it comes to fun legacy decks, as well as the card Hull Breacher, so you're denying your opponent any kind of drawing and forcing them to discard while also creating advantage for yourself. But it's also got all the other Maverick stuff, some Aethersworn Canoness, Endurance, Knight of the Reliquary, Mawloc, Uro, and Green Sun Zenith. It also pulls back with Life from the Loam and uses its 22 unique decks out of the 27 that it runs. The fun thing, I think, that this deck has had updated since the last time it was on the channel is 4th Aerolingus, which can make you the Monarch and also create a bunch of tokens if you draw it late game. So it can either be really good on turn 3 or it can be incredible late game. Combating this strategy on the right is William with his Angel Stompy list. Kind of a home brew. It's a little bit of a death and taxes, but also really good angel creatures mixed together with fast mana. So this deck runs a lot of cards that you would normally see in Death and Taxes, like Mother of Runes, Recruiter of the Guard, Sanctum Prelate, and Skyclave Apparition and Solitude. But then it's got another couple angels that add to the fun, with the Sarah Paragon being able to bring stuff back from the yard, Giada Font of Hope just being a little bit of mana ramp and also a flying vigilance creature, as well as the Angel of Condemnation, which is also a flying vigilance creature that has a Flicker Wisp effect stapled onto it, except it can only target other creatures. It can't do permanents, or like lands. All of this together matched with the Invasion of Gobakon, and you have quite the mid-range control deck that can just grind its opponents out of the game with all sorts of different creature effects. I think the main draw to the deck is the fast mana in the Chrome Moxes and Ancient Tombs, allowing you to play a 3-cast or a 4-cast on turn 1, which can put you ahead of your opponent and hopefully keep you there with all of your control aspects to this deck. And the last time I talked to William, his record with this list was an astonishing 19, 4, and 5, but that was at the end of June, so I'm not sure what that record is now. So enough about these decks, let's get into these games. William is on the play here, starting with, well, that's not a scrub land, a Marsh Flats into just a Plains. Don't need anything fancy. Plains into Mother of Runes. Might even be playing against Death and Taxes. The Mother of Runes, of course, still a very good card in Legacy, especially if you can't respond to it turn 1. So hopefully we're seeing a Swords to Plowshares here from Ben. He's thinking about it a lot, though, so I'm not sure if that is the card that he's going to be playing. Maybe he's thinking about dropping a different 1-drop into play. Yeah, so we're seeing just a Forest into play here. Although he doesn't have any 1-drops. I thought he had Birds of Paradise. Dropping the Shadow Spear into play, which I'm not actually seeing on this list that he sent me. Well, that's all right. He does run 4 Chalice of the Void, which could be useful, but I think William runs some number of Chalice of the Void himself. We're seeing the Archon of Emeria coming into play, making everything a lot slower. Non-basic lands your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped, slowing Ben down here. Ooh, William in a commanding lead in the current situation. We see the Invasion of Gobakon coming into play here, acting as a white Thoughtseize. There's one of those Chalice of the Voids. So the Sylvan Library goes underneath the Invasion of Gobakon. Now Sylvan Library costs 4. 2 plus 2 more. It's CMC plus 2. See a Punishing Fire. That's not going to be particularly helpful. William getting started on rocking at that Invasion so that each time his creatures attack, they get +1/+1 counters added to them at end of turn. So that's going to happen now. And Ben has almost no action. So probably going to try and get this Sylvan Library into play since he can't do much of anything else. Playing a land, pay 4. Decides to play Mince and Boo. That is a pretty good Planeswalker. So this is going to nab him a 1/1 with haste. And now he can turn that guy sideways because he can put 3 +1/+1 counters onto target creature with trample or haste. Mince and Boo does a really good job at killing things by itself. Although that is a bummer. William decides to turn the Mother of Runes sideways, bringing the shields down for just this turn. He decides it's more important to get that Mince and Boo dead, even though the Punishing Fire is going to be able to kill that Mother of Runes this turn. We're seeing a Recruiter of the Guard going to be able to go and get a Solitude. So Recruiter of the Guard, toughness 2 or less. Solitude being able to Swords to Plowshare as a creature. If William has 1 more mana, then he doesn't even have to pitch a white card to it. I wonder if Ben uses some mana here. Yeah, loads up the Shadow Spear. And in response to loading up the Shadow Spear, getting the mana wasted, the hamster is removed. William did have to pay his final white card in his hand. The Punishing Fire, getting that Mother of Runes. William points at the Invasion. Oh, I see. Oh, I didn't even realize that. So William sacrifices his Light Shield Array, giving his creatures hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. And Ben decides that that's enough advantage, since he has like nothing else in his hand, that they just went to game 2. All right, a turn 2 Sylvan Library, making things a little more palatable for Ben, being able to have that nice card selection and catching that Mother of Runes before it is able to untap. We see one of William's favorite cards coming into play here, Kaya Orzhov Usurper. It's going to plus up and exile some cards out of Ben's library or Ben's graveyard, catching that Punishing Fire. No longer useful, exiled forever. And Kaya can just sit around, plussing up, getting rid of graveyards, and when it finally comes around to minusing 5 and dealing to target player equal to the number of cards that player owns in exile, and you gain that much life. So, I mean, if you can do this late game, you can just blow an opponent out of the game. Using that one of Green Sun Zenith to go and find the Endurance. Tucking William's library, or graveyard, back into the library. We see a Sarah Paragon. That's a good card. So Sarah Paragon, of course, a 3/4 with flying, and once during each of your turns, you can play a land from your grave or a permanent with mana value 3 or less. Ooh, there we go. Loading up that Shadow Spear on the Endurance, making it a 4/5. Crunching Kalia down to just 1. And a Swords to Plowshares is going to deal with the Sarah Paragon. Sending William up to 22. A second Sarah Paragon, because why not? William not wanting to give up the Sarah Paragon. At least the last time he didn't block. We'll see what he does this time. Looks like Ben's got a Life from the Loam in his hand. That's not particularly useful right now, losing all of these cards to the Kaya. Looks like he took 4 damage there, or gained life. Oh, yes, of course. Gains life because of the Shadow Spear. Invasion of Gobakhan coming down. We're seeing another Sylvan Library. It looks like that might be... What was that card called? Force of Vigor. There we go. Yeah, that kind of looks like that, right? Which would be kind of perfect to be able to deal with this Invasion of Gobakhan. Although you don't want to do it now, because then William can just buy it back with the Sarah Paragon. So Sarah Paragon must be dealt with first. And that's how you deal with that. Crashing in for, I believe, 7 damage here. Somehow William only goes down to 19. And we see the Angel of Condemnation coming into play. So if William can untap with this thing, that can be some pretty good control. Being able to blink the creature. Oh, yes. We had a slight disconnect. It'll be back in just 1 second. Here we are. So William just decides to take the full damage here. Getting a prismatic ending for the invasion of Gobakon there. And drawing another Kalia. And exiling some more cards from the yard. Although that does leave William shields down, he can't activate that ability off of the Angel of Condemnation. I think Ben in a very good spot here. I think Ben is currently at 32, whereas William is at 12. I mean, just turning these two guys sideways each turn is eventually going to win him the game here. And there's a pretty good card as well. Seeing the Knight of the Reliquary off the top. Not enormous at the moment, but still pretty good. A 4/4. And it looks like we're packing it up and going to game 3. William starting with the Flooded Strand into Plains. Just a fetch? Just a fetch. Interesting. And we're seeing another fetch getting double white here. Maybe dropping a Giada into play. Ooh, we also see the Chrome Mox. Decides instead of the plains, we wanted a scrub land, which is going to drop the Kaya Orzhov Usurper into play. If we get a tick down here, I think he can hit the... Oh, you know, I bet he can't. I was going to say, can we get that there? Dryad Arbor, we cannot. Exile target non-land permanent, specifically. Ben decided to still take advantage. Get a Sylvan Library into play here. And plays the Maze of Ith. Being able to untap, remove things from combat. Just a one of. And a Mother of Runes into play. Looks like the Mother of Runes cannot be dealt with at this time. Ben is very sad and passes the turn. Ooh, wow. All right. So the Angel of Condemnation and a second Mother of Runes coming into play here. That's some spicy stuff. And we see a Comet. Comet is also not in the list. Comet, of course, the randomized Planeswalker where you roll a die, and depending on what you hit, you get to do cool things. So he is going to be able to roll twice more, I think is what Comet says. Let's check real quick. Comet still or pup? Activate Comet 2 more times. So it looks like Comet probably hit and dealt damage twice there. Target creature or player. Yeah, killing the Kaya. A good move by Ben. William getting to play a Solitude. And getting rid of the Endurance. Decides to attack Comet with a Mother of Runes and an Angel of Condemnation. Untapping, removing the Angel from combat, so Comet only takes 1. That is one of the problems with Comet, being a randomized Planeswalker ability. Sometimes Comet ends up just killing himself. So we see a 2. What, a 2 is going to make 2 squirrels. They have haste until end of turn. You get to +1. At least this is going to take away those Mother of Runes beats. Although Ben not in a great position here since William's got 2 3-power creatures and 2 creatures to make his creatures unblockable. But William still has to think about it. Decides pro-green and attacks Comet. So I think Comet's at 3, so no matter what Ben does here, he does have this Maze of Ith, but that can only remove one of these creatures from combat. So he's still going to lose Comet no matter what. Unless he's got some sort of action in his hand. Yeah, Comet's out of there. Gaining some life and deploying a new Kaya and says, get that Comet out of here. Trying to decide what life totals are. Obviously something was decided okay. And Ben goes and gets a Tundra out of his deck. Blue mana, maybe a Dack Faden, maybe a Hull Breacher. I don't think he has anything particularly interesting out of the side. All right, we're seeing... Oh, an Uro. Okay, sure. So neither Reliquary into play, Uro into play. Although that's a little bit of a bummer. That must have been Ben's only move there, since not being able to get rid of Kaya. Yeah, William cannot tick that thing up fast enough to get rid of Uro out of the yard. Says, no, thank you, sir. Wow, so we're seeing 3 damage, or no, not 3 damage come across, tapping the Angel to flicker the Solitude, gets the Knight of the Reliquary gone. Just so much advantage. Ben tapping 4, deploying the Minsk and Boo, getting a 4/4 into play. Although having these 2 Mother of Runes untapped, crashing in for 6. Yeah, gonna kill one of these. Oh, declared blocks on the Solitude and then used the Maze of Ith to untap the Squirrel, preventing William from gaining life. Actually hitting for a bit, using that Prismatic Ending with that extra blue mana off of the Tundra to get rid of Kaya. An excellent draw. So we're seeing... How did that work? Oh, must have been protection from green to the Solitude, killing Minsk and Boo with the Angel and the Solitude there. Crashing for 4, bouncing the Hamster out of play. And Ben is in a tough spot. Deploys a Blast Zone, but decides that's it. The game is over here. And so William takes it 2-1. Thanks as always for stopping by. If this is your first time to the channel, please consider subscribing so that you can stay up to date on all our cool stuff. If you're looking for either of these deck lists, they're always in the description of this video, and they are also on our Instagram over at Tuesday Night Legacy on Instagram. Thanks as always to Spellhold Games and Collector Legion for allowing us to record in their play space. And that is all of the information I have for you at this time. So I will see you next time. My name is Eugene, and this is Tuesday Night Legacy. Bye.